Alright, it's Barb with inspireme360. In this video, I want to talk about excuses that prevent us from creating a more dynamic version of ourselves and essentially prevent us from living our best life. So one of the things that we have talked about in our corporate culture for 2025 is that we are going to implement a culture of no excuses. Now, what does this mean? So when we come up against criticism, we've all been there. Somebody comes to us and says, we didn't do this quite right to their liking. We feel instantly attacked and our ego goes on the defense, and essentially we start making excuses for how we didn't potentially measure up to those expectations. And what I want to do is really have you create a mind shift in terms of how you understand criticism. If you can truly look at the suggestions that people bring to you as a gift instead of a curse or instead of a criticism, this is that pivotal aspect that shifts your whole mindset. You go from being in an attack mode or in that excuse mode where you're trying to, again, give reasons why what you did was good enough, when really what that constructive criticism can be utilized for is an opportunity to better oneself. My entire career, my entire life, I've always sat in a very, very neutral position about any criticisms that people, individuals, other companies, my parents, the world at large brings to me, because I look at it as an opportunity for growth. Now, there's a few layers to this. You don't necessarily have to take every aspect of an individual's criticism as, the holy grail. But what you can do, and what you will usually find, is there is a slice of learning in each and every, what we would deem as a conflict or a criticism. It allows us to settle back into this really receptive mode if we look at it through the lens of discernment, and we can start to figure out what elements within ourselves we can improve upon. So let me give you some examples. Let's say that you're dealing with an individual and they are criticizing the way that you approach them. Maybe the way you brought to their attention, something they needed to work on, or it was maybe your tonality, whatever it is. First of all, that's an opportunity for you to understand how you can interact with different personalities and how you can create a more dynamic dialogue and breadth of communication within your own communication style. What I mean by this is that it allows you to push yourself into a zone of becoming that chameleon where you can really read into others' energies and try to discern the best way to communicate with different types of individuals. The other thing that I want to bring up is that there may be something in terms of your own task style, delivery style, or communication style that might actually be operating from a deficit. There may be an opportunity for you to learn how to engage and go through your own tasks in a better manner. The other thing I love to do when we're on this path of no excuses is to ask questions. I love questions because questions are really that pivot point that opens up the doorway to massive amounts of learning. I always want to ask why. Why did you feel this way? How did it make you feel? What could have I done better? Is there a scenario you can give me that would have opened the door or opened your receptivity to how I could have spoken with you or how we could have interacted that made this more seamless? What this allows us to do is stretch our muscles in conflict resolution and also in interpersonal dialogue, which are transferable skills across all arenas of our lives. This means in our family dynamics, in our friendship dynamics, in our relationship dynamics with our spouses, and in a corporate setting. So when we really let go of excuses, because excuses, I really want to define this, excuses are the lies that we tell ourselves for a position of non-growth. anytime we are making an excuse for our behavior, we're essentially saying, nope, I don't want any more learning. I'm good as I am. I want to stay stuck, and I am in absolute non-receptive energy, and my behaviors are going to stay stagnant. Now, as a human being, the highest calibration of our existence and our beingness throughout the day is the ability to be returning into that receptive, creative, learning energy. When we are in our learning energy, when we are that sponge that wants to grow and transform and become a better version of ourselves, excuses become a roadblock. So we want to wipe the slate clean for 2025, really start to identify when our ego is bubbling up, putting excuses in front of our faces, or really pushing excuses to the forefront, instead of looking at how we can transform, how we can grow, and how we can become a better version of ourselves for ourselves and for all of those individuals that we interact with. Now, what I want to do, just in terms of practical application at the end of this video, I really want to dive into some examples of how excuses, again, can really push us into an energy that really takes us back instead of moving us forward. So let's look at the excuse of, financial burdens. I didn't have enough money. This is why I wasn't able to get my bills paid on time. The world was too stressful, therefore I couldn't look at my finances. Again, you can have all of these examples of these excuses, but if you're really drilling down to honesty in terms of your own life, have probably been multiple opportunities in this particular example where you could have not gone out, you could have saved money, you could have worked a little bit harder, budgeted your finances in the months previous, and set aside checks and balances to ensure that you're not getting yourself into hot water. And those excuses, when we're continually using those excuses, it prevents us from really holding ourselves accountable. And that's really the key with all of this. We need to move into an energy where we are truly holding ourselves accountable for each and every action and reaction in our daily lives. Another example of this is, let's say at work, whether it is an employee, a client, a boss that is coming to you and saying, look, we need you to improve on this, or you did this and it didn't really quite work out. A lot of times that knee-jerk reaction is to go into excuse mode and find all of the reasons why, the world is against you and you couldn't deliver or you couldn't have heightened your energy. Now, I truly believe that most individuals are doing the best they can in the moment, but here is the linchpin to this. If we are staying stuck with our excuses and not taking accountability, we don't push ourselves into growth. So anytime anybody gives us a little bit of tough love and is making suggestions on where we can improve, this is an excellent example of where we really need to put, pedal to the metal, look at things, chart things out. I love doing this. I will scribble different scenarios out on a notepad so that I can look at things in different ways. And having this adaptive ability to really see multiple different perspectives and viewpoints will really increase your happiness, because again, you don't feel grouchy or frustrated when somebody brings you a problem. You start looking for and paying attention to solution-based thinking, so solution-based consciousness. And this puts you in a position of power, because the minute that we start looking for solutions, we let go of all of that baggage and all of that frustrated negative energy that comes along with the excuses we make that prevent us from being the best version of ourselves. So what I really want you to do as an activity, as we are working through that element of the ego and how the ego will try to make excuses instead of allowing you to really push forward into growth, try to identify every time somebody is criticizing you. Start to look at criticism not as criticism, but as a gift. Every time somebody says something that you perceive, because remember, perception is just perception. Anytime you perceive something as negative, really look at it. Pick that moment of time, out, isolate it, and say, okay, where's the tough love? Where is the glimmer of learning and intelligence in this statement? And how can I really look at what it provides me in terms of a context for self-improvement? Now, after we've done that, after we've delineated with really looking at the scenario and looking at the situation, then the next thing I want you to do is start to create a roadmap of solution-based thinking. Doing sort of a mental visualization of role-playing in your mind of how you could have played it better, how you could have done it a little bit better, so that the next time you've almost pre-practiced how you want that scenario to play out. Also, don't be afraid of talking to the individuals that are bringing you that criticism or that tough love, because that is a great opportunity for you to establish a voice. So opening up that throat chakra, giving yourself that empowerment that makes you feel so solid within yourself, and having that open dialogue in terms of this sort of ill-perceived hierarchy. There certainly needs to be a captain of any ship. We know that. But in terms of traditional hierarchy, where we have these misinformed ideas that, we shouldn't approach those at the top, what is really empowering is when we open up honest and authentic communications with those that might be at a higher position to us. We become really bonded to them, and we create this beautiful roadmap for how that equal and balanced communication can flow at all levels. So I'm going to wrap this video up, but remember that excuses don't help you in life. When we can move aside the excuses and put ourselves back into solution-based thinking, this is where we really start to pivot into that building the best version of ourselves and creating a persona and a character within ourselves that we are truly proud to embody. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.